So I'm going to ask another speaker to come up. Her name is Jay, and she is a woman who is a HER2 metastatic breast cancer survivor. She is an ongoing toxic treatment. She'll tell you more about it. And she would like to get her Herceptin TDM1 but cannot because of this FDA. Jay?
My name is Jay. I'm one of a new generation of people living with advanced cancer. I call us a new generation because we are living longer and we have a better quality of life. I started out in March 1999, and in fact I have a few friends here who remember that month, almost 13 years ago, with cancer that was only in my breast, stage 1 early breast cancer. I had 2 surgeries, I had aggressive chemotherapy, I had 7 weeks of radiation, and then after that for 7 years I took a daily hormonal treatment for cancer by pill. I ate sensibly, I stayed active. I was pretty sure that I was going to be one of the 70% of people with early breast cancer who never have it spread anywhere else in the body. Even though I am HER2 positive, and I knew that then, which means I have this protein that makes my cancer grow a lot, it's like fertilizer. Even though I had that, I was still hopeful that I was going to be safe. I was going to be one of the 70% who makes it. But in 2006, I learned my cancer was no longer stage 1 early breast cancer, just in the breast. It had spread to my bones. Then in 2007, it spread to my brain. Earlier this year, it spread to both my liver and my lungs, all those vital organs where it now kills. Since 2006, I've had surgery on one of the tumors in my brain. I've had targeted radiation on the other tumor in my brain. I've had 9 different cancer drugs, 9. It's very important that new cancer drugs are always being developed, tested, and approved. That pipeline has got to continue. That's the only way we're going to stay alive. So for me, 7 of the 9 have worked for either months or years. And of those 7 that have worked for me, 5 of them were not around 10 years ago. So what I figure out is that if I had been diagnosed with advanced breast cancer in 1996 instead of 2006, I likely would not be here today. But I am here. I'm still my husband's best friend. I have sons who just turned 23 and 25. They no longer depend on me the way they did in 1999 when I had early breast cancer. You know, then they were 10 and 12, and they depended on me to take care of them when they had a strep throat or poison ivy, and to help with homework, and to make sure they got to religious ed as well as to Little League. They needed me then. They depended on me then. Well, now they're 23 and 25. They may not need me, but they want me in their lives. They want to share their triumphs and their challenges with both their mom and their dad. They want to bring their girlfriends home to our house for a home-cooked meal that's made with their mom's devotion, you know. And they even sometimes want my input. They want my input sometimes on decisions, important decisions I have to make. And I still participate in the care of my elderly parents, although I had to stop teaching math in September of 2008, 2 years after I was diagnosed with the advanced cancer, you know, throughout my body. The FDA needs to recognize the hundreds of thousands of us living with advanced breast cancer. Their blocking approval of a treatment like TDM1 is evidence to me that they just don't get it. We need as many drugs as possible that have been shown safe and effective so that we can live as long as possible. Do you know that although the treatment, TDM1, is not yet FDA approved, they have approved limited access to it in some sites throughout the U.S. And in the spring, when my cancer spread to my liver, it appeared that I was a candidate for this expanded access. But the closest site was Fairfax, Virginia. I had neither the physical energy nor the financial resources to fly down to Fairfax, Virginia every couple of weeks. I hope the FDA approves this drug in time for my oncologist here in the Boston area to administer it to me. I expect many of us with advanced breast cancer can live long enough to be here when cures are found. In fact, this TDM1 may actually be a cure. Breast cancer research is making progress. Let those of us with advanced breast cancer continue to benefit from this progress.
In fact, every research hospital and every cancer researcher in this country fully expected Herceptin TDM1 to have been approved last September 2010. So I want to now introduce our next speaker, Ian, who's from New Hampshire. And Ian is HER2 metastatic breast cancer survivor also. Ian has been denied Herceptin TDM1 as well as Jay. Ian, come on up.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you, everybody, for coming today. I may look like a healthy middle-aged woman, but it's an illusion. I have metastatic breast cancer, and I want to tell you my story. Today we're here to tell the FDA to release a promising new drug called TDM1 for those of us with HER2 positive, a particularly aggressive form of the disease, that are already trapped in stage 4 cancer land. It is time for us, regular women and men in the richness and flow of our daily lives, to take a moment to tell the FDA to allow patients already suffering from this brutal disease access to less toxic and more effective drugs. TDM1, the drug at the heart of this rally, is such a drug and is being denied to those of us who desperately need it. Yes, cancer kills, but so does FDA policy, and we can do something about it. Let me tell you my personal story, a fairly typical one in many ways. I did all the right things, and I still stand here today with metastatic breast cancer. I have been living with what we stage 4 folks call METS, and yes, it is even worse than the baseball team. I've been living with it for almost 4 years. My journey into cancer land began in September 1998. I was 40 years old and had a routine mammogram showing suspicious microcalcifications. I was called back for more imaging. The tech came in with a sober look and told me the radiologist wanted to see me. Not good. The radiologist told me that I needed a biopsy as soon as possible. As it turned out, I had what is called DCIS, which stands for ductal carcinoma in situ, and that it was high grade. High grades are not a good thing in cancer land. I was told I had a very early cancer, sometimes referred to as pre-cancer, that had not yet left the ductal system of my breast. Although it was high grade, I was stage 0. I had no lump, no visible cells had strayed from the duct, and I was told that my cancer was curable. After 2 lumpectomies failed to capture all the errant ducts, I opted for a complete mastectomy. I had 18 lymph nodes removed, and none of them had any cancer cells in them. I had reconstructive surgery and resumed my life, which had been hijacked by cancer for several months. Fast forward to June 2007. I began to have odd symptoms with pain in my sternum and around my back. I was having phantom breast pain in my saline implant, and the pain was very sharp and odd to me. I visited 5 different doctors over the next 6 months and was told that I was fine, in fact, a picture of health. I was 9 years out from the ductal carcinoma in situ, the earliest and most curable form of breast cancer, and was diagnosed with costochondritis, a very common inflammation of the chest wall, most likely from the old surgery, I was told. I had had a clear breast MRI in January 2007, which showed no abnormalities in the phantom breast area at all. Although I felt something was wrong, I was more than happy to be told not to worry. Then a fairly large lump appeared near the mastectomy site in December, and I decided I would see another doctor after the holidays. I assumed it was a cyst or a lymph node enlarged due to having lost 18 of them on that side. I still felt off, but had come to believe that I was probably okay. On January 10, 2008, 3 days after the 6th birthday of my youngest daughter, I had a biopsy result of the lump. It was in fact a lymph node and carried the worst news. It was full of breast cancer, and was most likely an invasive recurrence of the original cancer from 1998. A CT scan showed tumors too numerous to count in both of my lungs, in my sternum, a couple of my vertebrae, lots of lymph nodes, and oddly, my thyroid. Needless to say, I was devastated. I was in shock. I called my husband on the verge of hysteria and said, it came back and I'm going to die from it. I did not think it was possible to go from stage 0 to stage 4 after 9 years of good health and careful medical follow-up. I did not realize that many cancers show up between annual mammograms, and really aggressive ones, such as HER2 positive, can multiply at an amazing speed. Important lesson, we are the experts on our own bodies. If you feel you need diagnostic tests, even if your doctor doesn't think you do, insist. I was reading about an awesome drug called TDM1, which was in clinical trials in major cancer centers in large urban areas. It was showing amazing results without the toxicity of standard chemotherapy. I realized that my options were down to toxic chemos and the slippery slope to a miserable premature death if I stayed in Santa Fe. My husband and daughters were game to move, so 2 years into stage 4 Cancerland, we relocated to this area. I'm very grateful to the amazing team I received care from at Mass General Hospital. My oncologists are both brilliant and compassionate and understand my goals as a cancer patient. They too have been very excited about TDM1. My goals are basically to live as long as possible and to feel as good as possible. Let's face it, nothing beats having energy and feeling good. This requires resorting to standard chemotherapy as seldom as possible. We thought that TDM1 would be available the summer of 2010 under the Accelerated Access Program, and that it would be a perfect drug for me. In the meantime, my cancer spread to my kidneys and was growing rapidly in my lungs and bones. I was on the wait list for 5 different clinical trials, one of which was TDM1 at Dana-Farber. A different trial with Herceptin and a targeted drug came up first, so I enrolled in that one at MGH. I felt great on it for the summer, but tests showed it was not working very well, and by the end of the summer I had an awful infection on my ankle that did not heal, developed cellulitis, required massive antibiotics, so I went off the trial. It was about time for the anticipated accelerated access release of TDM1, so I was very hopeful. I told my oncologist, I thought that my oncologist and I would be able to make the decision together to get me on TDM1. But in September, the shock of the HER2 cancer community, the FDA refused to even look at the application to fast-track TDM1. They wanted 2 to 3 more years of data before even considering it. It would not be released until 2013 at the earliest. I was still feeling quite unwell, so my doctor ordered a brain MRI. I had not had one in 2 years. Unfortunately, it had come back into my brain. I had a 1-centimeter tumor. This disease is relentless. Again, blessed with state-of-the-art medical attention, the tumor was successfully treated with radiation therapy. I found myself back on chemo and waiting to get into another trial. Still a no-go for me on TDM1. The criteria for the trials had changed based on the FDA's awful, lethal decision denying accelerated release of this effective and much less toxic drug. The reason the FDA gave was that women in the trial had not been through all the highly toxic and ultimately ineffective drugs now approved. Remember, I was saying that most of the drugs that exist now only work for several months, and then the cancer finds a way around them. So we do have limited options. I could no longer get into a trial for TDM1 because I hadn't taken all the toxic options. It was also pulled out of all the Northeast sites, so I would, rather than get denied access to trials due to having tried too many chemos, as the first speaker's sister had been, I now cannot get in because I haven't had enough of the toxic chemos. With the new FDA's decision, people must have had to progress on every immune system destroying, balding, bone marrow eroding poison, each of which may work for a short period of time. Once you've tried all of them and are at death's door, then you can try TDM1 if you're willing and able to travel for miles every 3 weeks to get it. This is both a tragedy and a travesty. It's an outrage. It's time to stand up to the FDA and demand the release of TDM1.